let's talk glute bridge. So the glute bridge catches a lot of flack for being known as like the half rep hip thrust, but the reality is that's the total point of the movement. The objective is to target the top portion of the glutes. And what we're gonna get out of this is not only like a really wicked glute pump, because when you are contracting the muscle in its most shortest position, it can create the most metabolite, but also it's a really good way to establish neurological connection. And what I mean by that is helping an individual learn to use their glutes more effectively. So sometimes in certain movements, people struggle to really feel the glutes. This is a great tool for teaching them that. So now you will see a lot of people use a band around their knees. The reason that I don't promote that is because there may be contexts where the band can help somebody learn how to better achieve glute contraction. But the reality is the glute maximus is more not really a external hip rotator. So what happens is when you push out, you're activating more of your glute medius and your piriformis, which is a tiny muscle within your hips. This can lead to lower back complications where you see a lot of people build up here, but then it indents like so. So if we want to build that big meaty portion, we don't really want to think of pushing the knees out. We rather want to think of pushing the hips in. So you're squeezing your glutes together and then driving them towards your knees is one of the keys that I use. So if your gym has one of these, you could use this setup here. I believe Nautilus and some have some machines that should suffice. You could also use a Smith machine as well. Most people are familiar with the hip thrust, so it's the same setup idea. So as mentioned though, the purpose of this movement is to be like the half range of a hip thrust. So when we get into here, ever so gracefully, be careful, if you have one of these, they can tip back. Don't hurt yourself. So where you're going to position your feet is, for me, this has got a nice marker. I go right to the edge. When I'm at peak, I want my shins to be about 90. Now, you might have trouble being perfect without guidance, but just get in that relative area. You're gonna wanna have your shoulder blades on the bench. Most people will be up here, which really decreases the moment arm, which allows them to do a boatload of weight, but with the incorrect form. So coming down increases the moment arm, and down, when you go, keep your abs engaged, and don't think of pushing your bum back. You don't want those ribs to flare up like that. You wanna keep that core tight. So think of it as a hip hinge movement like you would an RDL. So core tight, and my cueing is that your chest is falling off the bench. So I'm coming forward, and then I'm driving my glutes together and pushing towards my knees, almost pushing this bar away from me. Hinging at the hips, stopping once my shins start to come forward, driving everything that way. And if you do this movement right, you will really feel it in your glutes. The common mistakes I see are, as mentioned, this takes you at a neutral spine, not the best glute activation, going too low, making it more of a hip thrust, shins really falling forward, head back, keep a nice tucked chin, tight abs, chest falling off the bench, push everything that way. If you tend to feel this more in your quads, it means you are most likely pushing back into the bench rather than pushing this way, because that'll get a bit of quad activation. But if you perform this movement correctly, you're gonna get a wicked glute pump. You're also gonna really learn how to properly contract those glutes and control your movement. As you see, it's a very short range. So you only need like a 2-second tempo, and use a pause at the top so you're not flailing through that movement. And as mentioned, think of it when you're on the bench, treat it like a hip hinge, not the bend and snap. Okay? If you guys like that video, please hit the like and subscribe button, and check out my Instagram at that.coach.curtis.